Hello, this is Unexplained America, and I'm your host, Lisa. Thank you for joining me this week as I dive into the Slenderman case. Now, this is a requested content from an OG listener and pod friend, Heath. Thanks, Heath, for always listening, sharing content, and then, of course, requesting content. I love that. So, if anyone has requested content, you can message me, email me, just reach out. Now, a little business, please leave a rating, especially on Spotify. Just take a moment and leave me whatever it is, a 5-star rating. That would be so great. And then also follow my new Facebook business page. You can subscribe anywhere you're listening and leave a comment. Like all of these things are greatly appreciated. Also, I'm going to plug the live show. Now, today is the 6th. We are literally about 35 days out from the live show, and this is going to be me and the Cryptids Across the Atlas friends. We will have the live show at the historic Ritz Theater in Malvern, Arkansas on Saturday, July 7th. Now, the link is in the show notes, so you can go ahead and get your ticket, or of course, you can just come and get your ticket at the door. But if you want to secure your ticket early, just make sure to go to the link. I am super excited about the live show. I am going to be talking about the Abe Pipkin case from 1977. And that case happened in Beebe, Arkansas, so that is a homegrown case, and it took about 25 years to solve this case. So it's a very sad case. It's a very interesting case. So make sure to come to the live show and you will hear about the Abe Pipkin case. For today's subject, listener discretion. This case is really tough. It deals with, brutality against a child. It does discuss mental health issues and even a suicide attempt kind of later in the case. So just listener discretion for these things. Now, on Saturday, May 31st, 2014, three young girls, they go out to a local park to take a walk, play some hide and seek, but by 10 a.m. that morning, one of the girls will be taken to the hospital with 19 stab wounds, and the other two will be picked up by police, arrested, and later charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Now, these girls are only 12 years old. This horrendous case would make national and international news, quite frankly, especially when the arrested girls announced the reasoning behind the attempted murder was based on a fictional character named the Slender Man. Now, the location of today's case is based in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Now, Waukesha today is the seventh largest city in Wisconsin, having approximately 72,000 people. Now, the town of Waukesha is 26 miles away from Milwaukee, another big site in Wisconsin. Milwaukee is not the capital of Wisconsin, but it is the most populated city. And Waukesha is the county seat, with the county being named the same as the city. Now, this area, when we're talking about the United States as a whole, is kind of newish when you think of American history, but the area was settled in 1830 by settlers coming up from Chicago. Now, the city is actually incorporated in the 1840s, and I would like to think that this probably was because, we kind of America settled on the East Coast and then went out, but it's extremely cold in this area, kind of like Colorado for years was only considered like a summer town situation or state situation. Now, I've never been to Wisconsin. My husband actually has, and so he told me a little bit about the cheese curds and how they were only good if they squeak. Interesting, but Wisconsin's definitely on my list of places to see. Waukesha is beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful. It is in the middle of the state, but the most eastern part of the middle, okay? It's very close to the Great Lakes area, and it's cold. We talked about how cold it is. It's way north. Like yesterday here in Arkansas, or whenever I checked this the other day, Our weather was a balmy and very hot for June, I must say, 94 degrees. Now, this was 4 days ago on Monday or so. This is really warm for us, but in Waukesha, the same day, it was 72 as the high. Now, typically the average there, even up until July and August, like all through the summer, is like 71 on average, the low being 51. This is magical to my ears. I love this kind of weather. I think I need to start spending my summers in Waukesha. Now, winter wise, the temperature is about -28 on average, with 24 snow days on average per their year. And that's probably like actual snow falling. We're not talking about snow being on the ground, but actual days that snow is falling. It's cold. It's wintry. I love it. I think I would winter in Arkansas, but summer in Wisconsin. So, very nice. Now, crime in Waukesha isn't absolutely zero, but it's very low. The violent crime rate is super low. It's like Waukesha being ranked the 8th safest area. And then crime is basically 40 to 50% lower per the national average in Waukesha. Okay, so there's crime, but typically it's theft or burglaries. It's definitely not murder or attempted murder or anything like that. So when this crime happened in 2014, not just because of the strange circumstances about the situation, but basically this put Waukesha on the map and for this heinous crime because this was not normal to Waukesha at all. This is a very safe area. Most of the city, even though it's 72,000 people, is safe. Now, in May of 2014, there is a young girl named Morgan Geyser. She's living in Waukesha with her parents, Matthew, who went by Matt, and then Angela, who went by Angie. She does have a younger brother named Ben. He's about 6 years old at this time, and Morgan is 12. Morgan was born in Waukesha on Thursday, May 16th of 2002. Her parents had met, dated, they were from Waukesha, and they actually get married in October of 2002, basically 5 months after she's born. So, Angie describes Morgan as quirky. She marches to her own beat. She doesn't seem to care what people think about her at all. Morgan is pretty slim. She's pretty tall, though, for her age. She's 5'4", weighs 115 pounds. Her hair is light brown. She's very light skinned. Her hair is long. She wore glasses. Morgan has a longtime friend that she had met going to school, and at that moment she was attending Horning Middle School, but she hung out with this friend regularly. They had been friends since like 4th grade, but her friend's name is Bella. Now, Morgan lives in the Sunset Apartments. They kind of look like some nice townhomes off of Big Bend Road there in Waukesha. She lived very close to some other condominiums where she met a girl named Anissa Weier. Now, Anissa lives with her mother, Christy. She has older siblings. She has an older brother, specifically, that is named after her dad, William, and her dad goes by Bill. Now, Anissa's parents are divorced, but they are amicable. They do co parent with each other and make sure to take care of the needs of the children. Now, Anissa is described as very intelligent. Like Morgan, she wears glasses. They both were very much into video games, YouTube. They liked scary stories, scary movies, kind of the typical things that 12-year-old girls like. They became fast friends in 2013. Okay, so Bella and Morgan were friends first, kind of longtime friends, and then Morgan becomes friends with Anissa, and then Anissa is introduced to Bella. I have a daughter, and I'm sure you guys with kids understand this. Typically, 2 girls is good, 4 girls is good, 6 girls is good, okay? You keep them in even numbers. Typically, when you get into an odd number like this, like 3, that's not a good mix typically. We would never kind of allow Elle to have that situation going on. As she's gotten older, that kind of changes and shifts, but when they're young, like there's always like an odd man out. So In this situation, Morgan being friends with both, and then Anissa was kind of said to be jealous of the situation with Bella, like jealous of that kind of longer term friendship there. So Anissa wasn't always nice to Bella. They weren't necessarily friends, but when Morgan wasn't around, Anissa was quite nice to Bella and vice versa. So it was kind of like when you get in that trio, it was not like a good mix, okay? Now, on Friday, May 30th, Morgan, who had just had her birthday on the 16th of May and she turned 12, she decides to celebrate her birthday and she had this planned by having best friend Bella over and then new friend Anissa over. They're going to have a birthday party slumber situation. Very normal. Now, Angie recalls being absolutely thrilled about Morgan having this other friend. Like she had Bella, who was a great friend, but Morgan didn't have tons of friends. So she was excited that Anissa had come into Morgan's life, that there was a third friend. Now, Anissa's parents were very happy about her making friends because she too didn't seem to have a lot of friends. So this was all very like a happy situation, kind of normal. And the sleepover, again, was the very typical 12-year-old scene. Like they were going to go roller skating that night. They had the junk food. They had the movies. They had the late night giggling, talking. Like everything seemed to be very normal according to Angie, Morgan's mom. Okay. Around 8 a.m., now this is on Saturday, the next morning, the girls all get up, they have donuts and whatnot, and then they decide that they want to go outside. Now, this is May, but it's Waukesha. You know, we talked about the weather. It's cool. It's cool outside. So the girls are wearing jackets, okay? They're not running around maybe like they do in Arkansas in shorts and a t-shirt. Morgan and Anissa, they live very close to a park called David's Park. This park is literally maybe half a mile from Morgan's condo. Okay, so it's very close. It's in walking distance. And again, this is a very safe town. There's not anything that would have alarmed Angie for the girls to go walking. Okay, so the three take off. They're walking, playing. Kind of the plan was to go to the park. They go to the park. They decide that they're going to play some hide and seek. At one point, the girls go into a public bathroom there at the park. And when this happened, things kind of start to turn ugly, specifically for Bella. So Morgan and Anissa, they begin to attack Bella. Now, Morgan pulls out a knife, and then Anissa is prodding Morgan along, and Morgan ultimately will sit on Bella's legs, and she's holding her down, and she repeatedly stabs Bella. Morgan is stabbing Bella to death. She tells Anissa that she stabs Bella 17 times. And she literally believes that in her head she was counting the times. So she believes it's 17. Now, these girls, they leave Bella in David's Park. They had kind of pulled her off the path, and Bella is bleeding. She is whimpering for her life. And again, she's there off the path in David's Park. Now, Anissa and Morgan, after this happens, after Morgan is stabbing Bella to death, the girls tell Bella they're going to run and get help, which they don't plan to do, by the way. Now, Bella, she is gasping, she is bleeding, she is covered in her own blood, she is blessedly conscious, and somehow she is able to pull herself out of the woods and onto a path in the park where a man comes along. His name is Greg Steinberg, and he is riding a bike and he's going to the park, and he hears Bella and he hears her crying for help. He hears her saying, "Please help, I've been stabbed." Greg stops, he runs to Bella, and he immediately calls 911. This is right before 10 a.m. on Saturday, May 31st. This is where I'm going to insert his 911 call.
With the address, your emergency. Washington County, my name is transfer caller on Big Bend. That's a dead end just south of Rivera. Okay. It's a case of a 5-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed. She appears to be what? Stabbed? Okay. Are you still there? Yeah. Hi, sir. So, are you with this 12-year-old female? Yeah, she does. She's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times. Yeah. Okay, so you with her right now? Yes. Is she awake? She's awake. Is she breathing? Yeah, she's breathing. She said she can take shallow breaths. She's alert. Okay, stay with her. We're sending the police department. Don't hang up, okay? Hold on just a minute. Don't hang up. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, you're saying up. Is there any assailant around?
I didn't even look. I don't see anybody.
Okay, stay right with her, sir. Is she on the ground or is she standing up?
No, she's laying on the grass.
Laying on the grass. Stay right with her. Just let me know if she is remaining conscious or not. Okay. Okay. Is there any bleeding going on?
Her clothing, it has a lot on it.
Where are the wolves? Do you see where the brands are?
No, I don't know if I should be rolling her over and checking her.
Do you know where? Okay, stay safe, but oh, she's conscious or alert or stop breathing. I'm bothering you at all? Okay. Okay. Just keep her in that position. Just let me know when her breathing. Okay. What's your name, sir? My name? Your name. My name, Craig Steinberg. Right. Okay, will you just pass it through? Yes. Okay, and you found her? She was just laying there? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you see active bleeding or blood spurting out or anything like that?
No, Rick is underneath her. I just see
Okay, dry blood. Okay, just dry blood. Okay. Okay, is she still breathing? Is she still alert? Yeah. Okay, stay with her. Stay with her. Keep an eye on her. Hold on. Do not hang up, sir.
Okay, Eleanor.
Get that cute.
What don't you like, Bud?
You could better not pop it. With your energy. And she didn't say who did this or how it happened? I don't know if she wants to be talking. I started to ask her, and then that's okay. If she's trying to save her energy, I think. Okay, but you see nobody else around you. Are you clearly visible to pull down that road towards the dead end that they'll see you? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Are you clearly visible when you come down there? Can they see you?
I could have. I got a full bathing on my bicycle out on that one.
Any emergency vehicle I see.
I know. I'll be standing in the middle of the road.
Where's she in the side of the road?
Yeah, she's on the grass. The little trail I take for my bicycle.
Okay. Okay. Don't hang up, sir. Just stay right with me. Okay. And let me know immediately if you see anything else suspicious in the area. Car, person, or anything. Alright. Keep your eyes open.
Yeah, then you were coming, your car's coming your way when you feel solder.
No.
Nothing. No. Hey, were you on foot walking by or did you pull up that car?
Bicycle.
You're on a bicycle.
Yeah.
How did you see her? Did you just...
She right in the middle was a little path I take.
Middle of a little path. Okay. Yeah. There's a squad car
coming out.
Okay, the squad car coming. Okay, put the squad car down, protect her. Here, coming down.
Does she have a bike or anything, sir? No, I don't see it. One saddle is off.
Okay, flag that officer down. I'm going to let you go. Okay? You meet with you right now, okay? Okay, thank you.
An Officer Klein of the City of Waukesha Police Department responds to the call along with the fire department and then the ambulance. Officer Klein finds 12-year-old Payton Isabella Leutner, aka Bella, lying on this pathway with Greg. Now, Bella is wearing a white t-shirt and a black fleece jacket. They are covered in blood. Officer Klein asked if she was okay. She says no. He then asked who did this to you, and she was able to tell him, my best friend Morgan Geyser. He then asked where, and she pointed and stated in the woods. She then told Officer Klein she was in a lot of pain. Officer Klein observes multiple wounds on Bella. Now, around her legs and abdomen area, all of this is happening like in seconds, just minutes, okay? Bella is loaded up. She is taken to the Waukesha Memorial Hospital, which is about 1.5 miles away from the park. Now, as she is going to the hospital, Officer Klein is joined by Detective Trussoni. Now, they're trying to ask Bella questions, but she is not able to answer at this time. She's only able to kind of say yes or no. Now, she is eventually, while in transit, able to kind of answer more, I guess, as they're working on her. She is able to indicate there was another girl with Morgan named Anissa. Now, at the hospital, they rush Bella into a CAT scan and they're trying to determine the severity of her injuries, like where these wounds are. Now, the officers are told that she has a number of wounds. Of course, they couldn't see them all, and they will be told there is a total of 19 stab wounds. They are told that she has fluid around her heart in that she is needed to automatically go into thoracic surgery. So a team of thoracic surgeons, they immediately work on Bella. As they take Bella into surgery, like when they were doing the CAT scan, the police are able to document and photograph all 19 wounds on her little 12-year-old body. And this is kind of simultaneously happening as the doctors are working on her. Medical personnel, they will be updating the officers like as all of this is going on. They let the officers know that Bella is in serious situation. The knife used did strike her actual heart, so she was stabbed in her heart. They stated she was very fortunate. She was like even alive. One of the stab wounds to her chest missed her major artery by only 1 millimeter, kind of the width, they said, of a human hair. If that artery had been hit, she would have died in a matter of minutes. She would have just bled out. Bella would have this heart surgery. That would be the first of many surgeries to happen to Bella. Other stab wounds were indicated to the police by the doctors afterwards, like after they kind of work to stabilize Bella, and the stab wounds hit her heart, her liver, her pancreas, and her stomach. And then she had lesser wounds and stabs to her legs. Again, totaling 19 stab wounds. Now, Bella is in critical condition when she is brought into the hospital, and blessedly, the team is able to get her stable, get her condition to stable through these surgeries to repair these vital organs. Obviously, the police get Bella's parents. They are rushed to the hospital and they have to endure this horrific scene of, thinking their daughter is at a sleepover with her friends. And no, just a horrific situation for Bella's family. The police, they have Bella in the hospital and they know there are two 12-year-old girls that need to be found. So the police immediately go to the girls' homes and they're not, they go to the girls' homes looking for the girls. And Angie will recall later that she's in her basement doing laundry when the police come. They're asking about Morgan's whereabouts, and Angie's just stunned. She doesn't know what's going on. The police do not tell her anything at that time. Basically, they just are trying to locate Morgan and they're not saying anything to Angie. The Waukesha PD and the Waukesha County Sheriff's officers, they of course put out an all points bulletin for the two girls, Morgan and Anissa. By 3 p.m., a lieutenant with the sheriff's department named Paul Rinkus, he is dispatched to where they had gotten someone called in and say there were two girls that were seen. Now, this call-in was at a park and ride lot off of Interstate 94, right across from a furniture store, which was like a chain called Stein Hayfels. Now, this location is right under 5 miles from David's Park. Now, the officer, he approaches the girls, is saying, okay, are you Morgan and Anissa? He really wasn't aware of which girl is which at the time that he's approaching. And he does also ask at that time, because, he knows about what has happened. He says, quote unquote, do you have anything on you that would poke me? He advises her that he will be putting her in handcuffs. And then she states, and this is Morgan, which he's unaware of exactly who she is at that time, she states that she has a knife in her nearby purse. Lieutenant Rinkus, he looks at the girl who will be Morgan, and he notices she has blood on her clothing. He does ask if she was injured, which she says no. He asks where the blood has come from. She replies she was forced to stab her best friend to death. Now, Lieutenant Rinkus, he then reads Morgan her Miranda warning and writes. She advises she understands her rights. He asks Morgan there at that location if she's willing to talk to him, and she agrees. So she tells him kind of at this point, she's in handcuffs, but they're still kind of in transit. But she tells him that she had a sleepover at one of her friends, which was not accurate because she's the one that had the sleepover. Not sure why this statement was made, if it was like a typo in the report or if she truly stated that. Now, she said that her and another girl had stabbed a girl victim, and then the police are kind of calling this in, so Lieutenant Rinkus is figuring out what's happening, is being told over the radio, okay, well, Bella is the victim and Bella is at the hospital already. So after this conversation, he takes Morgan directly to the Waukesha police station. Now, Anissa is also handcuffed and taken into custody as well. So they're both taken to the police station. Now, a Detective Faith, he was also at the scene when the girls are arrested. So you kind of had Lieutenant Rinkus, who was taking care of Morgan. You had other detectives kind of taking care of Anissa. Now, they find this purse that was on the girls, and they do find a 5-inch long blade in the purse, which would be identified as an old purse that belonged to Angie Geyser. At the police station, you have the Detective Tersoni, who had been at the hospital, and then you have another detective join him named Casey. Now, the detectives, they both interview and read both Morgan and Anissa their Miranda warnings and constitutional rights. Now, this is done separately. The girls are not held together. Now, Anissa, immediately upon having read her rights, she waives her rights to an attorney. She expresses that she wishes to tell the truth to the detectives. Now, Anissa explains and starts to talk about a website called Creepypasta Wiki. Now, she said this was an internet site that talked about horror stories and nightmare stories. She said people can create and write their own stories, and that these stories Anissa had read about, and she had learned about a man named Slenderman. Now, she said the Slender Man is the leader of this creepy pasta, according to her organization, like website, that he's like the leader. And she said he is at the top of the triangle. Just below the Slender Man is the killer, and then below the killer is what's called a proxy. So I guess she's trying to tell the officers about this Slender Man. Now, she states in order to be a proxy, you need to kill a person. So I guess you need to become a killer. Now, this would show your dedication to the Slender Man. Anissa said that many people do not believe Slender Man is real, and she stated she wanted to prove the skeptics wrong. She said she had been reading up on the website since October or so of 2013. Anissa said Anissa said Morgan also knew about creepypasta and that Anissa had introduced this to Morgan. Anissa stated that in December of 2013, Morgan had told Anissa she should be proxies of Slenderman, or Slender as they called him, and Anissa said okay, but how? Now, Morgan then tells Anissa that they need to kill Bella to prove ourselves worthy to the Slender. Anissa says she was very surprised by this statement, but excited because she wanted to prove the skeptics wrong. Anissa said she felt bad to actually physically kill someone, but Morgan had told Anissa she could have 2 girls spend the night for her birthday in May And then in February, she actually planned her birthday sleepover, which she then set for May 30th, that Friday, the May 30th. And that was the day that they decided that they would officially kill Bella. So they planned this as early as December and actually set the time to kill Bella in February. Now, Anissa went on to explain to Detective Trussoni that Slender lived in a mansion in the Nicollet National Park, which they discovered and found out was in Wisconsin. So their plan was to walk to the park after they killed Bella, which was like 162 miles away, by the way, and they made it five miles. Now, additionally, Anissa told Detective that after school on the 30th, so this was Friday the 30th, she packs a backpack, she packs clothes, she packs granola bars, she packs water bottles, and she packs pictures of her family before going to Morgan. So clearly, this was, again, the plan and had been planned out by the girls. Now, she said that Morgan's dad, Matt, picked her up and then took her and with Morgan was with them, took her, and then they picked up Bella at her house. Now, all three of the girls, they go to a place called Skateland to skate, and then they get back to Morgan's house for the sleepover around 9:30 p.m. Their plan had actually been to kill Bella in her sleep at Morgan's that night. They had planned to basically wake up and do this or stay awake until 2 a.m. on May the 31st. And their plan was to put duct tape over Bella's mouth and then stab her in the neck and then cover her up so they could then make a run for it and no one would know that she was hurt. They changed their plan, Anissa states, the plan changes because they go skating. I guess they didn't account for the skating part. Then they plan to kill Bella, so they kind of shift and discuss killing her the next morning in the bathroom at David's Park. And this was because Morgan stated that the bathroom at the park had a drain in it, so that's where the blood could go. That morning, like we discussed, that Saturday, the 31st, they go to David's Park. They actually go into the bathroom as intended, but Anissa says the plan was actually for Anissa to stab Bella because she knew, quote unquote, where the weak spots were. However, she goes to do this and she can't do it. So she can't do it. I guess Bella was even giving them troubles within the bathroom, and so at that time, Anissa gives the knife to Morgan. And then Morgan, according to Anissa, breaks down. And this is still in the bathroom at David's Park that morning. She, quote unquote, has a nervous breakdown. And then they decide to go for a walk, leaving the bathroom behind, okay? Anissa sees the woods. And then they say, okay, instead of doing it this way, they're going to play a game of hide and seek and then get Bella into the woods instead. Now, it's said that Morgan is the first seeker with Bella and Anissa hiding. Now, Anissa, she tells Bella to hide like in the woods, so she's kind of prompting her, and she tells Bella to put her face down in the dirt, but Bella won't do it. So Anissa actually restrains Bella, and so they're in the woods, they're kind of off the main paths of the park, and she restrains her and sits on her. Now, Anissa then goes to Morgan and they go back and forth. So they're like actually going back and forth about who's going to do the stabbing. Like neither girl is really wanting to. Finally, Morgan takes the knife and tells Anissa, okay, I'll do it, but you're the one that has to tell me when to do it. And Anissa then tells Morgan to, quote unquote, go ballistic, go crazy, and do it now. So Morgan takes the knife and she literally has Bella tackled and she's sitting on top of Bella and she's stabbing her and counting in her head to what she believes is 17 stab wounds to Bella. So she is purposely doing this. Now, Anissa states that Bella is screaming in pain. She's yelling at Morgan. She states to Morgan, I hate you. I trusted you. Now, Anissa says Bella gets up and she's stumbling and trying to walk to the street, but she couldn't even walk. Like, she's stumbling, she's not making it. Anissa tries to grab her back and like push her down. And this is when Anissa gets some blood on her. And this is what she's telling the officers. Now, Anissa says she tells Bella to lie down and be still so you won't lose as much blood, and we're going to go get help. But obviously, the girls have no intention. Instead, the girls run off. According to Anissa, they run off towards a Walmart on West Avenue. Anissa finishes by explaining that during the planning months, kind of leading up, the girls would discuss the plans. They would discuss this like while they were on the school bus. They would whisper between themselves, and they actually had come up with code words. The word cracker was supposed to stand for knife. And then they would talk about camping, quote unquote, which was them living in the Nicolette Park, which was where the Slender Man's quote unquote mansion was supposed to be. Now, the officer asked Anissa if she understood what it was to kill someone, not just in a legal way, but like a human way. And she said, I believe it's ending a life and I regret it. Now, furthermore, she says to the officer, the bad part of me wanted her to die, as in Bella, but the good part of me wanted her to live. Now, Detective Casey also is interviewing Morgan. Kind of at the same time, you have Anissa being interviewed, you have Morgan being interviewed. And Morgan, who is stating pretty much the same as Anissa, she tells the officer she wants to tell the truth and having been read her rights, and she pretty much concurs everything said by Anissa. She does explain that Anissa was quote unquote very prepared to do it, but there were flaws in her plan. And they wanted to do it when Bella slept so they wouldn't see her eyes. Morgan discusses that they end up not killing Bella on that morning or that 2 a.m. mark because, according to Morgan, she wanted to let Bella have one more day. Now, Morgan said at the park the plan was for Anissa to do it in the bathroom, but there were so many plans, so many different plans that they had discussed that Morgan couldn't keep up with them. And Morgan did say Anissa tried to knock Bella out to make it easier, but was unsuccessful. Now, when Morgan was explaining their actions after the bathroom and the hide and seek, she stated they went by some trees and then, quote unquote, stabby, stab, stab. So that's how she's telling the officer it happened, that they went by some trees and stabby, stab, stab. She also stated that Anissa called her Kitty because she had cats. And so basically, Anissa was telling her, okay, Kitty now, like how she prompted her. She stated both her and Anissa lunged and stabbed Bella, but she herself continued to stab her. So in Morgan's rendition, they both lunge and stab Bella, but Morgan is the one that continues. Morgan also states at one point she told Bella she was sorry. Afterwards, she put the knife back in her bag and then told Detective Casey it was weird that I didn't feel remorse. Furthermore, into the interview with Morgan, she tells Detective Casey Anissa stated they had to kill Bella, otherwise the Slender Man would kill their families. When Casey asked who the Slender Man was, she stated she did not know him. When Casey continued to ask Morgan about why she stabbed Bella, she stated it seemed necessary, and then he asked what they were trying to accomplish by stabbing her, and Morgan stated, I may as well just say it, to kill her. Morgan asked Casey during the interview if it was illegal to stab someone in self-defense. He responds, sometimes, then asks if it was self-defense when she stabbed Bella, and she specifically said no. Now, when asked more about the Slender Man, she stated that he had tendrils on him that were sharp. She would see him in her dreams. He didn't have a computer because he didn't like technology. It does not work around him. The girls are arrested on the 31st. By Monday, June 2nd, the girls are officially charged in Waukesha County. They are charged with attempt first degree intentional homicide as a party to a crime with use of a dangerous weapon, both being held as adults, as the law in Wisconsin at this time, and I'm not sure if it has changed, I'm sure it's probably the same. It states, their law states, if any person older than 10 years of age is tried as adult when the charge will be tried as an adult when the charge is attempted first degree intentional homicide. The sentence of this charge was a sentence up to 60 years in prison. The girls are held with a cash bail set of $500,000, and each girl is assigned a public defender. Neither girl is able to be bailed out, so they are both being held primarily at first at the Waukesha County Jail. They will be put in the actual juvenile detention center as they kind of move forward in their legal stuff. Now, immediately, this situation emerges in the newspapers. We're talking by that Monday afternoon, that they have their official bail hearing and all that. So, and everyone is weighing in, as you can imagine. The school that they attend, the Horning Middle School, they tell the newspapers that they took away all the student iPads kind of immediately Monday morning. They take them away. They do eventually give them back, but they completely block out the creepypasta website and other similar websites. Now, the creepypasta website themselves, they issue out a very lengthy statement how the content on their site is fictional, and they state, we as the creepypasta community wish to save this girl's life and prove that the community is made up of strong, sane individuals and not those depicted from the suspects. This is regarding the creepypasta community that had immediately set up a fundraiser for Bella's family, which was through youcaring.com. They state all proceeds will go directly to the family for medical expenses and court expenses. We're standing together to show that we can overcome this tragedy, and we all share the pain of losing one of our own members. Or the actual creator of Slenderman issued his own statement. His name is Eric. On June 5th, 2014, Eric Nunson, he released a statement of condolence. So he states, I am deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin, and my heart goes out to the families of those affected by this terrible act. Let's discuss the Slenderman. What is the Slenderman? The police are working on this as part of their full investigation, and they're trying to figure out, like, who is this character? What is this character? Where did he derive from? So, the Slender Man, also going by Slender Man, Slender, and Slendy, is a fictional supernatural character that originated as a creepypasta internet meme created by something awful forum user, the Eric Nunson. Okay, and Eric also used a pseudonym, I guess under this website or others, of Victor Surge. Now, this was posted originally in June of 2009. So this is when he is first posting about Slenderman. Now, he, being Slenderman, is depicted as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid with pale white skin and a featureless face, wearing a black suit with branching tendrils. This Slender Man, it's like a fictional mythology, and a lot of it was, once it was out there, others went off on their own Slender Man drawings, different things. They kind of ran with it. So it evolved and became different in Slender Man's, like, different people and his persona. So he had different appearance, motives, habits, abilities that varied from just different interpretations formed by different creators. Now, again, he was commonly very tall, thin, unnaturally long tentacle-like arms. He would extend these arms to intimidate or capture his prey, and his prey was normally young people. Now, it does say that he normally wore or was seen in a black suit and tie. It said the Slender Man was commonly associated with forest and abandoned locations, and Slender Man also had the ability to teleport. The proximity to the Slender Man is often said to trigger a slender sickness, which was onset paranoia, nightmares, delusions, accompanied by nosebleeds, and would cause, like, if Slenderman was around, the TV would have like a static effect. This static effect would affect like all technology, like phones, screens, different things. Now, early stories featured the Slender Man targeting, again, children and young adults. Some featured young adults were driven insane or influenced to do the bidding of Slender Man, which is not good, as you can see. Now, other news articles coming out at this time were discussing primarily the moral obligation of stricter parental controls. Now, Sheriff Dan Trewicki told papers that this tragedy was all about parental involvement or lack of. Now, he stated that the law could not have prevented this, but parents could have prevented this if they had had more involvement. Bella is out of the hospital by June 6th. She is still very much on the mend. She is very much facing multitudes of different surgeries. She will have multiple surgeries and multiple issues health wise, but also psychological fears. Her parents will discuss this definitely changed her, made her more fearful. She herself mentions that after this happened, she was afraid. She had a lot of fear. So she is out of the hospital in June, and she will be back to school in September, but she is very much, having a hard time physically and mentally. Morgan and Anissa, they are in the county jail. Morgan's attorney that was assigned to her is a man going by Tony Cotton. It's Anthony Cotton. He is working with Anissa's attorney, who is a Joseph Smith Jr., and they are discussing fighting for the girls to be treated as juveniles because, again, they're being treated as adults. Now, they're also fighting for the girls to be mentally checked out, but the prosecution is fighting for the girls to remain in custody as adults and wanting the harshest sentence relayed to the girls, citing, quote unquote, the victim almost died. Both girls, they do go under psychological evaluations. By Friday, August 1st, after many evaluations, the court judge, and his name is Michael Bowen, he is a graduate of the Marquette University's law school program, and he does retire in 25, which we'll talk about, but he had a long standing as in private practice as an attorney and then as a judge, but he is proceeding over the girl's case. Now, the court, he listens to the appointed psychologist, which is a Brooke Ludbaum, and then there's also a defense psychologist, a Dr. Kenneth Robbins. Now, both psychologists confirmed to Judge Boren that Morgan was incompetent to stand trial. They both felt she needed 1 year at least of psychiatric treatment to be considered competent. Brooke Ludbaum, she states that among other things, Morgan believes she has quote unquote Vulcan mind control. Now, I'll be honest, I kind of heard of this, but I did have to look this up. So, and this was a reference to Star Trek. I am not a Trekkie, so I did not know this, but it did sound familiar. Now, Ludbaum told the judge she witnessed Morgan laughing hysterically at inappropriate moments. She would squat in her chair and had numerous other extremely strange behaviors, which were told to her by the staff at the detention center where Morgan was being held. And also, Morgan talked to herself, and the staff that was like around Morgan didn't feel she grasped the seriousness of her situation. So she just kind of seemed to just not understand, be laughing, just not even be a part of the, what was going on. Now, she also stated Morgan's parents described her as smart, creative, with few behavioral issues before the stabbing, other than a situation where she brought a mallet to school, which was kind of evidently she had brought a rubber mallet to school and stated that she brought this item to school because it was to defend herself. The judge listened and agreed with the findings of the psychiatrist, so he orders Morgan committed to the Department of Health Services for further evaluations. So that's what's going on with Morgan. Now, Anissa, in the meantime, her attorney, Joseph Smith, he requests the judge to look over her mental evaluations as well, but the judge denies this, and her attorney states that her evaluations would prove Anissa wasn't able to extricate herself from the situation she was involved in. Now, Morgan's attorney tells the judge her records shouldn't be released because they were private. So basically, he was kind of not for her being evaluated the same way as Morgan. But Judge Boren does order for another hearing just for Anissa in September. After a couple weeks, the judge does kind of take note of Joseph Smith because Joseph is like sending him letters. He's talking about Anissa being incompetent. And Judge Boren does state by September 16th that he is canceling the probable cause hearing for Anissa, and he asked the Wisconsin Forensic Unit to evaluate Anissa. So he does listen to her attorney and is like, okay, I will look at this, okay? In October, Anissa's attorney is fighting for her incompetency to match Morgan's. Okay, the court appoints some doctors and they show and dictate to the court that she is very intelligent and competent. So this doesn't work, okay? Now by December 19th, both Morgan and Anissa are back in court, and this is the same year, 2014, and both are deemed to be competent to stand trial. Now, Morgan is diagnosed with early onset childhood schizophrenia. Now, it is disclosed that her father is schizophrenic. Now, her attorney, Tony Cotton, agrees that she has had treatment from the state. So basically they put her in treatment, they put her on medication, and that he is agreeing that she is now competent. Okay, she seems to be understanding things. Now, the court sets up their next hearings for February 2015. At this point, Morgan has been in a mental health facility, but Anissa has been held at the Washington County Juvenile Detention Center. Now, she has also been kind of going back and forth, but they have been doing her evaluations while she's been there. Now, in February of 2015, there is a 2-day hearing where the investigators bring forward the probable cause evidence against Morgan and Anissa. So they bring in notebooks, drawings, computer records that correlate, and these records are coming from their home and school computers, and they're collaborating the plan to harm Bella. But also there are tons of disturbing drawings such as Slenderman, there are mutilated Barbies, and that kind of thing at her home. Like, both girls have this, Morgan especially, at their homes and in school, in their lockers and everything like that. Now, they also have Payton Isabella Leutner, again, Bella. She testifies and she tells how she had been friends with Morgan since 4th grade and everything was good, but Morgan began getting scary and sending scary emails about the Slender Man and other creepy pasta things to Bella, which Bella did not like, and she expressed this. Now, she also discussed how Anissa was very rude and mean and jealous and would even hit her in front of Morgan, but then apologize when the girls were alone. Bella also recounted the horrible events of what happened May 31st, and again, she stated Morgan sat on her legs and whispered, "I'm sorry," and then began stabbing her over and over. Morgan and Anissa, their attorneys asked for the charges to be dropped down to attempt in the second degree. So they were asking for this because that would mean that the girls would then be dictated and treated as juveniles. Now, Judge Boren said he would decide next month on that. Now, in March, Boren decides to keep the attempt in the first and the adult court and keep the girls in adult court. He states the girls' statements and planning showed motivation beyond fear for themselves. So he was saying, no, I'm not dropping this down. Now he sets the next hearings in May and June for the girls. And then, so this is 2015. So at these hearings, both the girls' attorneys continue to ask the judge, allow for them to be treated as juveniles. So they continue these requests. Morgan's attorney is, Tony, is citing that Morgan has stopped taking her medications and she is backsliding. So he feels like she is no longer competent, that she's talking about fictional characters like Lord Voldemort and Sirius Snape from the Harry Potter books and stating they are her only friends. Now, Judge Boren, he sets up a final decision for this whole going back to the juvenile courts for August of 2015. Now, on August 10th of 2015, he states he will not treat the girls like juveniles. In the juvenile law, these girls would be completely free at age 18. So he states they will be kept in adult court. However, both girls are still like in the juvenile detention center. So they're not being held in like an adult jail, but they are being held under adult court. After this decision comes through, and of course this is making, Morgan's attorney upset, he states in an interview that Morgan will likely plead not guilty due to mental disease or defect, which then would result in placing her in a mental hospital. So he's just telling the press this. Now, between August 2015 and then a year later to July 2016, so this is just like a full year, the girls' attorneys during this time, they are appealing to the circuit court to overturn Judge Boren's decisions for them to be tried as adults. So they're still fighting for this. They are also fighting for lesser bail. They end up losing by July of 16. They lose on both these counts. However, during this time, Morgan's family does, fight for her position to be placed at the Winnebago Mental Institution instead of in the Juvenile Detention Center, citing her mental illness with the schizophrenia and her need to be in the mental hospital. Angie will go on record with the press in June of 2016, and this is for the first time, and she is just telling her side of things, her situation from her viewpoint. And she states that Morgan and Anissa were just children and how wrong it was to be held in adult court and how she hadn't spoken to the Leutner family at all, but that she loved Bella. So she's saying she has never reached out to them, okay? She had also gone on to discuss how, she didn't even know about the law to hold children over 10 that committed such crimes as adults. Like, she was unaware of that and that she did not agree with that and would be like fighting those laws. Now, at this time, there is, immediately after this all happens, as you can imagine, there is a documentary film being put together, and in 2016 this film goes to festivals. So this documentary, it comes out in 2016 to the film festival, and it'll go out to HBO. It does have Anissa and Morgan's families interviewed, so the whole viewing is from their perspective. I will say, we have always had HBO as a family because I get stuck on different series. We got stuck on The Sopranos, and so we've had HBO for a long time. But when this documentary came out in 2016, I remember Daryl talking about, like telling me about it, and that he watched it, because I wouldn't. Like, I could not. My daughter at that time was 8, and just the thought of this, like, bothered me. Like, it bothered me bad. Like, it just, I didn't even want to watch it. I didn't want to think about it. So I did not actually watch Beware the Slender Man until I was doing this. So literally like a couple weeks ago. And I've said before that documentaries are great. This was a good documentary. I felt like it kind of frustrates me, and I'll kind of get to it because it's just so much about the suspects instead of about the victim. And then it's kind of enraging to hear about the suspects plea and kind of turning it around, like to make them look like the victims of the system or something. So it's very frustrating. Of course, there's so much. A lot of my research has come from actual court documents, which have been helpful, and not the documentary. Although the documentary is a good see, so definitely watch it, and I'm going to link it in my show notes. But in 2016, I could not watch it. Like, absolutely did not watch it. On July 27th, with the Court of Appeals done, so they lost. Now the attorneys are having to face the reality of adult court. And this is 2016 now. I mean, this is almost, this is 2 full years. So both girls at this time, they plead not guilty based on mental disease or defect. And they do this by August of 2016. Between the time frame of July 16 of 2016 and the May of 2017, the attorneys and the Judge Boren, they are going back and forth on details for trial. Okay, so they're just going back. The attorneys want separate trials. The attorneys ask for the trial to be moved, or at minimum for the jury chosen from other counties, like not Waukesha. Now, the judge says yes to the separate trials, but no to any other items. After that, the attorneys come back and say, okay, well, if you're not going to do what we wanted with the juries, we at least want the juries sequestered. So that was a request. The judge sets Anissa's trial for September, and then he sets Morgan's for October. And this is now 2017, okay? Before, as you guys know, everything's push push push, but then all of a sudden, okay, when the attorneys realize, okay, I didn't get what I wanted, now they're talking about pleading. Okay, so by August, Anissa comes in changing her plea to guilty for second degree homicide as a part to a crime with use of a deadly weapon. Now, Judge Boren, he takes the plea, but he states there's still going to be a trial involved, and it's just going to be determined or based on determination if she is legally responsible or if she is not guilty based on the mental illness. In September, a court-appointed forensic psychologist tells Judge Boren that Anissa suffers from a shared psychotic disorder with Morgan. Now, on Friday, September 15th of 2017, Anissa's jury finds her not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. She won't go back to the detention center, but she will be required to go into the Wisconsin Department of Health and the Winnebago Mental Hospital for a minimum of 3 years before she could be ready, quote unquote, to ask for any type of release from the mental hospital. Payton's family, she kind of went by Bella to the girls, but Payton, as far as like her family and any time she was mentioned in the newspapers and such. But Payton's family issues a statement saying they were happy to avoid a trial. They stated, though we do not believe that an institution is where these attempted murderers belong, the current legal system does not favor victims in this situation. With this closure, our daughter is a heroic survivor and no longer a victim. Now, this ruling by the jurors came from 3 different psychologists saying that Anissa was a schizotype on the schizophrenic spectrum. With this was in September, so she will be sentenced in December of 2017. And Judge Bowring does give her the maximum time frame in the mental institution or being supervised by the mental health system for 25 years. So this was the maximum that he could give her. But it still states, the law states, that she will be basically in the mental hospital for a minimum of 3 years before she can be released into the community. But once she's released, she will be monitored until she's 37 years old. It's stated that Judge Boren wanted to give Anissa this maximum sentencing because he was particularly bothered by startling events while she was in custody. So it was indicated to him that she was talking about making a quote unquote Ouija board at the jail, and then this Ouija board would unleash spirits that she could feel were pushing her on her bed. Now, on the flip side, Judge Boren also found that, because this is, by this time in 2017, she is 15 years old at this time. Now, he states that he does find her more mature, empathetic, and remorseful, but he definitely did not want her free sooner than later. Like, he did want her monitored until she was 37, was his thinking. So that's why he did the maximum. During Anissa's legal timeline, of course, Morgan has her own. So in October of 2017, Morgan pleads guilty to attempted first degree intentional homicide with an agreement with prosecution that she won't spend time in prison, but she will remain in the Winnebago mental health facility. Now, the prosecution at this time wanted her to be at the facility for at least 40 years, and her sentencing was set for February of 2018. On Thursday, February 1st of 2018, of course, Morgan is 15, she'll be 16 in a few months. She is sentenced to the maximum possible via Judge Boren. He gives her the 40 years in the state mental facility due to, quote unquote, being 40 years to a 15-year-old. What a long time. But this is an issue of community protection. Now, the judge went on to explain he felt Morgan was still suffering from severe mental illness and that she posed a threat to herself and others. At this hearing of her sentencing, Morgan does break down in tears, and she states how sorry she was to Bella and that she didn't mean for this to happen and hopes she's doing well. In January of 2019, with a different attorney handling this process, his name was Matthew Penix, Morgan files another appeal, still citing that she should again have originally been just convicted or posted for the second degree attempt, thus being treated like a juvenile. So they're still trying to go down this road, just like with the appeal from before. Now, she is citing the reasoning was that she was in harm's way if she didn't commit the crime. And again, just like the appeal from before, this is rejected in 2020. And in fact, her attorney, this Matthew Penix, he tries to even take this issue to the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, and they say no. They turn it away. So in October of 2019, so later that year, Payton actually speaks out for the first time. And I will link this interview. Payton is just a very amazing young woman in her interview. She's just so strong, and I don't even know, like, it's just amazing that she came out of it just mature and upbeat and positive. Like, definitely took this horrible event and just turned it into a positive for her. She speaks out. She has an interview with ABC News. She states about her trauma that she has come to accept all the scars that she has. She states they are a part of me. She states just about the situation that she was believing that they were playing a game of hide and seek, but really it was just a trick, to get her down there to the park to where she could be, attacked. And then she told ABC News that regarding them, she said that Morgan and Anissa definitely was the right decision to charge her charge them as adults. She states, quote unquote, if they had stolen a candy bar, sure, that's child, but you tried to kill somebody. That's an adult crime. And then Payton went on to say she doesn't wish to see or talk to Morgan or Anissa again, but that and what Morgan did was probably unforgivable. Both Morgan and Anissa, they are both living in the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. Now, Anissa, in 2021, she petitions to get a conditional release based on her and her doctor stating she was not a threat to the community. Judge Boren, he listens to all the doctors' statements and such, and he does grant the release in September, but under certain conditions. So on Monday, September 13th, after about 4 years in the Institute, Anissa is released to the care of her father, but she is ordered to wear a GPS monitoring system. She cannot have any type of contact with Payton or her family. She cannot have social media accounts, and her internet will be monitored. So she is conditionally released under all of these guidelines plus. Now, she does vow upon her release to, quote unquote, not let herself be used as a weapon ever again. Now, in 2022, Morgan requests a release, but she then withdraws it. Her attorney is back to the Tony Cotton, and he's helping her with these requests, but he basically sees that her doctor is saying, okay, you're not ready, but you're making progress. So they withdraw the request. Now they request again in 2023, but again they withdraw it. And Tony Cotton, he states to the press that Morgan is making progress. She's more mature and such now. And just a little side note, Matthew, Morgan's father, he does pass away in April of 2023, and he is only 50 years old. So this happens in 23. In 2024, Morgan makes another request, and Judge Boren, he actually denies the request, and basically he denies this on April 10th, and he denies it because there are 4 different doctors that testify, and 2 of the doctors state that she should not be released, and then 2 say that she should, that she was ready. Now, Judge Boren, he makes his decision based on the fact that he did not believe Morgan could be fully truthful with her doctors about her symptoms. Like, he felt like she wasn't being honest. So he knew that she had previously told her doctors in 20, I think this was in 22, that she had made up her symptoms so she would not be released back to her parents. She stated her father had sexually assaulted her in the past and she did not want to go home. And then there was another disclosure from the Institute that Morgan had tried suicide. So she had actually, in 2021, she had swallowed a battery after telling them that she was hearing voices telling her to do this. So this was why Judge Boren declines her release, and this was like in April of 24. Now, in March of 2025, Morgan's team petitions Judge Boren again for release, and this time there are 3 different psychiatrists stating Morgan is ready and that she's not in danger to herself or the community. Now, the prosecution is not happy. They cite Morgan had had a relationship with a man who collected homicide memorabilia and that she had sent him like drawings and different correspondences talking about how they were going to have a physical relationship, I guess. But evidently, this drawing that she had sent him had shown a decapitated person. Also, she had allegedly, or not allegedly, but she had read a book and told her doctors about it, but this book had discussed homicide or self-harm. Now, the defense team countered and stated that the book was approved by the Winnebago system. Like, the only books that she ever read were in their, catalog, and that Morgan read all kinds of materials like biographies and all sorts of things. Also, she had stopped corresponding with that man as of 2023 after finding out he was selling items that she had given to him. So she had kind of found out, like, was having this correspondence, sent him stuff, and then found out that he was selling it, and then stopped talking to him altogether in like around June of 23. So they said that that was not solid because that had happened 2 years before this, I guess. So Judge Boren, he listens to all sides, and then he does approve her conditional release. It's supposed to be to a group home. Like, she's not going home like Anissa. She is going into an approved group home setting with the GPS monitoring and all the other stipulations plus. Okay, so, and I will say, Judge Boren, like right after this happens, he retires in 2025. Now, the issue is, so she, as of March, she is approved to be released, but they have trouble finding a group home. They do find one by the health department, but then this is by May or whatever. Well, Judge Boren gets very angry because this group home is literally 8 miles away from where Payton lives, like currently at that time. That's out of the question. Like, so he was really angry with the whole setup. He was like, why would you even try to set her up in this group home? And she will have like a permanent, obviously, restraint or order situation, just like Anissa with Payton. Like, they will not be able to ever correspond. Not supposed to. Now, in July, another group home is brought about, and it's 30 miles from Waukesha, and it's called Sun Prairie. But they kind of approve for Morgan to go, but when everybody finds out she's going to be there, like the people in that group home, and then just the publicity around her being there and in this community, like nobody is happy, and so they do not take her. So that plan falls through. This is in July. Now, they do work to find Morgan a different group home that will take her, that does meet the criteria, and it is in Madison, Wisconsin. So she is placed in this group home in September of 2025. Now, by Saturday, November 22nd, Morgan cuts off her GPS tracking with scissors. She leaves the group home. She is with a man who's 43 years old, and his name is Chad. He goes by Charlie Mecca. They make it out of the city, and they make it to the outer regions of Chicago, which is a good 170 miles away from this group home. So the police apprehend them right away. Charlie will state to the press that he had actually met Morgan at church a couple months before, and that she actually ran away from the group home with him, and because of him, because she was afraid the home wouldn't let her see him, and that they had left they had left the group home. He had helped her, and that they boarded an overnight bus to Chicago, and then that's when they were captured. In the aftermath of that, so he ends up getting in trouble trespassing and tampering and getting her out. So Charlie's in trouble for that. The state moves to revoke her release. So basically, she's arrested in Chicago. She goes to court in Chicago, and then they extradite her back to Wisconsin, which is pretty quick. But in January, and this is January of 2026, this year, her attorney, which is still the Tony Cotton, he states that he will not fight the state. So the state is like, we're going to revoke her release that was granted before. This is, she obviously cannot be out. So several people were actually in trouble with the state, because what happened was, I guess after she cut off her GPS tracking, the tracking system is supposed to be monitored, but it took 12 hours for the people to even contact the Department of Corrections to tell them that the GPS monitor was removed. And so a lot of people ended up getting in trouble. They got let go of or put on leave or whatever because of this situation with Morgan. So currently, all I can find to this day, this was as of the latest article came out in May, which was just still discussing that Morgan was being held by the state and still awaiting her legal situation, which was to revoke her release, okay, from March of 25. Now, I will be watching this whole situation. I will update kind of through reels and then my social medias as far as if I see anything with Morgan. But that's kind of the case against Morgan right now. She was released and she will, and at this point, I think she's just being held like in the Waukesha County jail system at this point until they kind of decide and what happens to her next. And I don't know. I'm assuming, I guess she'll go back to the Winnebago mental health facility. Who knows, but I'll keep you posted. The girls are all 24. Anissa did, after her release, she was released in 21. I think by 23, from what I saw, she was actually like her monitoring came up. So she no longer has to do the GPS monitoring. All I can tell from her is that she's just following orders. She has not been back in the press or doing anything, untoward. So she is doing what she's supposed to be doing. Now, again, Payton, she's truly been an inspiration, and evidently right after this happened, people across the world were reaching out to her and actually sending her purple hearts and just encouragement, and her family discussed how nice and encouraging that was. But she's definitely been an amazing person. She did cite again that she wouldn't be the person that she is today without this awfulness happening, and that it actually prompted her to want to work in the medical field and help others. I know she graduated college. It said that she was going on to or I know she graduated high school, and it said that she was definitely going on to college and was going to pursue her medical dreams. And we discussed, after the fact, she has had many, many surgeries. She has many, many scars. I think in her interview, she talked about how she even, had a tough time sleeping. I mean, goodness, I can't even imagine. And that she had slept for years with like scissors under her pillow, just petrified, I'm sure. So, definitely an amazing woman that has persevered. And I haven't seen anything in the last couple years about her, but again, I will link that interview, and it's just truly inspirational and just amazing how she has overcome. Now, what are your thoughts on this case? Like, please let me know what you think about this case, what you think about the whole Slenderman, kind of them saying it was because of Slenderman. Obviously, I covered the Friday the 13th tragedy. The tragedy was of Sharon Gregory. It centered around a young man named Mark Branch that did end up, definitely had mental illness troubles and a history of that, but that he had acted, killed Sharon in a way like he was fascinated with the whole like Friday the 13th movies, all the horror movies at that time. So it's kind of like that was his quote unquote reasoning or whatever. And there are lots of us that, especially when we're young, that kind of like are terrified of the boogeyman or terrified of the Slender Man, but there's people don't just go out and murder people. Now, when this happened in 2014, there were some cases that erupted that ended up being blamed on Slenderman as well, unrelated cases or whatever, but definitely I would love to know your thoughts. I feel like this is just frustrating to me because, and really all the cases that I covered, it's like the poor victim seems to get lost in this all, and then it's like the families or the perpetrators even themselves, they want to be victimized or they want to be seen as victims themselves, and kind of like woe is me, and that just doesn't sit well for me. I mean, as a mom, I can definitely put myself in Peyton's parents' shoes and be like, are you kidding? They tried to kill my kid. It was just by literal miracle that she didn't die. And then you're trying to talk about these girls getting out within 3 years, and they're serving time in the mental hospital, which means they get certain amount of visitations with their families. They just get a certain amount of privileges. And I'm not to say anything ill against people with mental illnesses. That's definitely like a real thing, but it's like, and people do need to be taken care of. But I do have a problem with, especially like, Angie's interview in 2016 when she came to speak out. It was just like, woe is me and my kid, and this is just a child. Well, your child, tried to kill a person, and left them for dead. So, yeah, they did most definitely committed an adult act, and they're being treated like an adult. And just it's kind of like a woe is me. And then also Anissa's father had come forward in 2018. There was a fictional movie called Slenderman issued out. It has the actress Joey King in it. I had never seen it. I actually tried to watch it a couple weeks ago. It's not terrible, but I just couldn't get into it. And it's completely fictional. It's not based on like this or the documentary or anything like that. But he had come out, and of course both these parents were instrumental. They were doing press for like the documentary, the Beware the Slender Man and such. But he was like, that movie's just in poor taste. Blah blah blah. So again, kind of making it about him and his daughter, and really like, okay, your daughter's not the victim, dude. Like, she's not. So it just doesn't sit well with me when it's like, woe is me and blah 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 me. And I understand that when they did the documentary, it was from their point of view, but them belly aching about not being able to see their daughter and this and that, I'm thinking Payton was almost killed. Again, let's not lose sight of that. And it's always lost sight of. It's it just blows my mind that people completely like look inward instead of outward on those type things. So again, I would love to know your feelings about the case, what you think. Do you think it's accurate that they were treated as adults? How do you look at it? What do you think is going to happen to Morgan now? What do you think needs to happen to Morgan now? I'll be honest, I think that she most definitely does not need to be released. I mean, it said 40 years. I think that sounds about right, because she's definitely proven that upon her release to this group home, she was not going to abide by any type of rules. So I don't think that that's going to change. The girl is 24. So she needs to just serve her sentence of the 40 years in the mental institution is what I think. But let me know what you guys think. And I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Let me know your thoughts. Please leave a rating. Next week, I will be discussing Elvis Presley, and I am going to focus a little backstory, but not a deep dive. We all know who Elvis Presley is, but I'm going to focus on the events leading up to his death in August of 77, but then focused on the lore. Like, why did people think that he wasn't dead? And all that happened afterwards, because I remember growing up in the 80s and such. I mean, everywhere you looked in the tabloids and everything, it was like Elvis sighting and this and that. So yes, it's going to be really interesting look at the lore behind Elvis Presley's death. So stay tuned, and yeah, thank you guys. Bye.